So you might find yourself asking, why am I fertilizing? Why am I pruning? Why am I watering my plants and I'm still not getting the result that I'm looking for? What could I be doing wrong? You might have only one problem, one very cheap or free problem that can easily solve all of those problems that you're having with your plants, and that's mulching. And I'm going to share with you today how it is that you can use mulching to improve your yield in your garden and to solve a lot of those problems that you might be tearing out your ear trying to figure out, how do I fix this? It is very easy, and most of all, it is free and sometimes very, very cheap. Very cheap. My name is Mary if you're new here, and I use a wide range of mulch in my garden to include charcoal. Even charcoal I use to mulch my plants in my garden. Most of what I use is absolutely free and, as I said earlier, very, very cheap. Mulch is critical, it is important, and I'm going to go through all of those materials that I use and provide you with all of the benefits of using mulch on your plants as against not using it. I'm sure it's going to change your garden forever, and you're going to thank me for it. These onions, they are long overdue some mulching, and that's not due to the fact that they were not mulched before. They were, but the mulch I use, it breaks down and feed the soil, and so I have to replenish. Now mulching serve at least there are more, but at least 5 vital roles in your garden, whether your garden in pots or on the ground. It serves those same purposes. Those include preserving the moisture in your soil. It suppresses weed. And guys, you know, we as gardeners, we don't like to weed. We like to harvest. We don't like to weed. It regulates the temperature of the soil. It protects against soil erosion, and it also improves the soil health by adding organic matter to the soil. And so it is critical. Now I'm going to go through each of those in depth and also share with you several free and cheap mulch that I use in my garden. As I said earlier, I'm sure it will improve your garden as well. All right, so let's quickly get into it. Let's delve into this goodness. Let's talk about the moisture retention in your soil. Now, this is chicken manure that I'm using as my first free mulch that I utilize in my garden. And I use chicken manure because we grow chicken, and so whenever we put sawdust in there, the chickens use it up. For those of you who raise chicken, you know the chicken use up that past their waste in the sawdust. No, this is actually sawdust along with the chicken manure that I use in my containers. And this is a perfect barrier between the heat of the sun and the soil in your container. So it prevents the soil from evaporating easily. You will have some evaporation taking place because it is heat, and eventually the moisture will find its way through, but it takes a longer time for the soil to lose that moisture through evaporation, with this mulch causing that barrier between the sun and your soil. None of us as gardeners like to weed. I don't like to weed. I rather to be planting than weeding. Now a good layer of mulch on your soil, it blocks the sunlight from getting to those seeds, seeds, most seeds, especially weeds, they need sunlight to germinate. So when you have that layer of mulch on the soil, it blocks the sunlight and significantly reduces, you chances are you might find a few, but it significantly reduces the chance of those seeds germinating. And so you have more time to do your gardening and less time weeding. Now, one of the best things I find that helps with that sort of problem, especially when you get the soil from somewhere where there's a lot of grass, is wood chips. That insulate the soil better than any other mulch that I have used. Now, most persons are able to get wood chips free, but sometimes, as much as we like it free, we don't have it available to us. Now, this that I'm using for this particular one is landscaping wood chips, and I'll link it in the description if it is you're interested. But this is just wood chips, and it's used for a lot of persons use it for landscaping because it is so pretty. And that I use to just cover guys, did you see that? It's just wood chips, guys. I just use this to cover the surface of the soil, and so that prevent those seeds from germinating. And if I should need to fertilize this, it's easy. I use mostly liquid fertilizer. I just pour it onto it and it seeps through. Some of it get sucked into those little wood chips, and the nutrients last longer in there anyway. And these wood chips, they will break down over time, very long time though. So if you need to add more fertilizer, you can just pull it back, fertilize, and cover. And that is just a lovely way to keep the weeds away from your garden beds, your pots. Because even though I plant in pots, I have problems with weeds the same way. Just like so. These are my dasheen plants that are growing right down here. I have so many of them. So many. And dasheen love cool, moist environments in order to do well. And are these doing well? Guys, it is super hot here on the rocks. Now, one of my favorite mulches to use, and the most common I use in my garden, is dry leaves. And that is due to the fact that I have it in the neighboring woodland. I'm able to get it for free. And so I usually go there to gather my dry leaves to mulch stuff like my dasheen and yams. And that is because I need a lot of it to insulate the soil and keep those moisture in, because as I said, dasheen and yams and so on, they do well in the cool. They like the sunlight on their leaves, but their roots need to be insulated and always have access to moisture. Not the dasheen will do extremely well in swampy water, but for the yams, they might rot. But they love to constantly have moisture on their roots. So that layer of insulation, and I have thick layers of mulch on my dasheen plants, all of them about 8 inches of mulch on them to keep it well insulated and cool. And so even when it is pelting hot like it is now, they still do well, and the leaf don't wilt at all because there is enough water in the soil feeding them, and so they're looking beautiful even though the heat might be punishing on their leaves. And so yes, the best mulch for me for this sort of plant is dry leaves, free of cost. And you can find it free too, especially now for some of you in the winter. Gather up those leaves when the snow melts. I know there are a lot of leaves under there. This is another of my crops that enjoys the deep mulch. And guys, yes, the same purpose that the mulch serve for us in the warm climates, it serves that same purpose for those of you who plant in very cold climates. It provides that layer of insulation between the snow, the ice, and the soil. So those plants that you're leaving in, like your garlic and a lot of other plants that will spring back up after winter, having some mulch on there will prevent them from being destroyed by the ice. Because if they freeze, chances are probably you might lose them. So having that mulch, so as winter approaches, you put a deep layer of mulch before the snow starts to fall, you might be surprised how many of your plants come back to life. So yes, it works for both very, very hot and very, very cold climates. Now, when we think about soil erosion, we might think about flooding, soil being washed away by flood waters and so on. But that's not always the case. Even for container gardeners like myself, we do have problems with soil erosion, and providing a layer of mulch will prevent the soil from being splashed out when we water it, when it becomes too dry and the wind take your soil away, because that does happen. So all of those are ways in which your soil can be eroded and you lose valuable soil that you really need to be providing nutrients to your plants. Now, this is charcoal. And this is also one of the things that I use for mulching. Now, charcoal not only provide a layer between the elements and the soil, but it also retains the nutrients in your soil whenever you water, especially if you use a liquid fertilizer or you inoculate the charcoal before putting it in your container. It retains that nutrients. So it doesn't only retain moisture in your soil, it also retains the nutrients that your plants need and release it gradually so your plant can enjoy that which you feed them. And all you need to do is just provide a layer of charcoal on top of your soil. This don't need to be pulled back when you're fertilizing. You just simply fertilize, especially with your liquid fertilizer. The coal will absorb some of that nutrients, as well as it will prevent those nutrients in the water in your soil from evaporating too quickly and from eroding essentially. So that's another one if you're able to get free, and this one is fairly reasonably cheap. So that's another very economical way to retain nutrients and moisture in your soil, in container or on the ground. Now, with a heavy feeder such as tomatoes, you really need to improve the structure and the nutrients in your soil, and that also can be done with mulching, especially finely grinded wood chips. This is my favorite when I need to improve the structure of my soil. I use horse manure along with cane. Let me take you closer so you can see exactly what this look like. This improves whether your soil is sandy or clay. It improves the structure of your soil. This is horse manure along with finely chopped sugar cane and cane grass, or what we call guinea grass. And this will break down gradually and improve the structure and fertility of the soil. So this is perfect to mulch heavy feeders like tomatoes and peppers. And all I do is just cover the surface of the soil with this mulch, and it takes its time and break down while I water. There's a ticks. I couldn't tell when I see a ticks. Where did this ticks come from? This is a redback. I'm going to put some on my dasheen as well. But I'm going to put a thick layer of leaves over it also. But this will provide a lot of nutrients for the dasheen. These are beautiful. Moving closer to home, guys. Now these are rocks that I have in here. You might be asking, what are you doing with rocks? Rocks can be used as mulch as well. They not only protects the surface of the soil, but it also give it a more pleasing look, makes it look tidy. So you can use rocks or marbles. The thing is with marbles, there are no nutritional value, but there are minerals in rocks that will also benefit your plants. You cover the surface of the soil with your rocks. It not only protects and insulate the soil, but it also looks very pleasing. It's beautiful to look at. Now, in closing, just a few important things to note. You want to ensure that you're using the right mulch for the right plants. You don't want to use big, thick leaves to cover very small plants and suffocate them. So if it is that it is small plants, you use lighter mulch, and so you'll know your plants, so you'll know exactly how to mulch them to keep that soil moist and to keep those roots fed. And the second point I'd like to make is you have to replenish. If you note, all of what I showed you except the rocks are organic material that are going to eventually break down. So as soon as those mulch breaks down and feed the soil, you want to replace those mulch in those containers or on the ground wherever you do your deep mulch. I always consider my containers deep mulch gardens in little containers. So whenever it gets depleted, wherever you get your mulch from, some cities offer it for free. You just need to request it. You keep replenishing your soil with those mulch and your garden will do better. Now, once your garden start doing better, come back and leave comments on the whichever video you're watching for that day and let me know how well it is working for you. I want to thank you so much for your support. I want to thank those persons who just joined the family. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being a part of Farming on the Rocks. We appreciate you. For those persons who have been sharing the videos, I appreciate you so much. Please continue to do so. Thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you for liking. Thank you for leaving your comments and your questions. And if it is I don't answer adequately, feel free to ask a follow-up question. I'll do my best to answer all of your questions. Thank you again for the support, for the super thanks. I appreciate each and every one of them. And for products that I've used in the video, I'll try and link in the description for ease of shopping for you. And it is at no extra cost to you. All right. Thanks again for the support, guys. And I hope you took something from this video. Please continue to leave your comments. As I said, I appreciate all of them. It means the world to me. All right. I'll see you in the next one. To my members, I left the best for last, didn't I? Thank you so much for being there for us. We appreciate the contribution. For those of you who've asked how to become a member, the join button unfortunately is not available for our country as yet, but for persons in the United States and elsewhere, the join button is down under the video right there. That's how you become a member to support Farming on the Rocks. All right, guys. Thank you and take care for now. See you tomorrow in the next one. Bye-bye.